Okay, hello Cloud Gurus and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we're going to cover the AWS platform concepts and components, and this is part 2. So let's move on to storage. Now, one of the services that make up storage is S3, and this is a really big topic in the exam. So we have an entire section on S3. S3 is basically a place to store your files. It's called object-based storage, and I'll teach you the difference between block-based storage and object-based storage in the S3 section of the course. But just think of it as a place to store your flat files in the cloud. S3 is secure, it's durable, it's highly scalable, and it's very easy to use. And you only pay for the storage which you actually use. So we will go into S3 in a lot of detail because it is a big part of the exam. Off the back of S3, we have CloudFront. So CloudFront is Amazon's content delivery web service, or CDN service, and it integrates with other AWS products such as S3. CloudFront, you'll remember, has different edge locations throughout the world. So essentially, an edge location is a place that caches your files. So for example, I could have my files stored centrally within Ireland, but then if a user in Australia decides to go and access those files can be cached in Australia, so that if another user then goes to access those files, they only have to pull the files down from the cache or from the edge location in Australia. They don't then have to go back to Ireland. And CloudFront is a fairly big portion of the exam, so we do have some labs on CloudFront later on in the course. We then have Glacier. Glacier is a secure, durable, and extremely low-cost storage solution for data archiving and long-term backup. With Glacier, anything you store in Glacier, it can take up to 4 hours to access it. So it's basically for offline storage, but it's a place to archive off your old data. So think of Glacier as an archiving service in the cloud. We then have EFS, and EFS stands for Elastic File System, and it's a file storage for EC2 instances. And think of it as a NAS in the cloud. Essentially, you can have EFS and connect it up to multiple EC2 instances, and it acts as a centralized file storage in the cloud, but it is block level rather than object level. Again, I'll go into a bit more detail about EFS in the EC2 section of the course. It is still in preview and does not yet feature in the exams, but we will cover it off because it is very important, and I have a feeling that it's going to become a hot exam topic for 2016. Now move on to Snowball. So Snowball was part of Amazon's import-export service, and they're sort of interchangeable. So import-export allows you to send in your own hard disks to AWS, and then they will load the data from those hard disks onto the AWS platform using their own internal network. So it's a really good option for when you want to move large amounts of data into the AWS cloud quickly and you don't want to have to do it over the internet. Now, Snowball is the enterprise version of this. So rather than sending in your own disks, Snowball is basically a suitcase-looking device that Amazon will give to you, and you pay for it on a daily basis. And it's basically a petabyte-scale data transport solution that uses secure appliances to transfer large amounts of data into and out of AWS. So we will go into Snowball in a little bit of detail in the storage section of the course, but it is not yet an exam topic. And then we have Storage Gateway. So Storage Gateway is the service connecting an on-premise software appliance or virtual machine with cloud-based storage to provide seamless and secure integration between an organization's on-premise IT environment and AWS's storage infrastructure. So essentially, Storage Gateway is it's a little VM that you run either in your office or in your own data centers, and it then replicates information to and from the AWS platform. And again, we'll go into this in a lot more detail in the storage section of the course, because this can be a hot exam topic as well. Okay, let's move on to databases. So we have the most famous database service of them all, which is RDS, which stands for Relational Database Services. This consists of a number of different database services, popular ones including like SQL Server, Oracle, MySQL. We have Amazon's proprietary Aurora. We have MariaDB. We have PostgreSQL, etc. So we will go into this in its own section in the course. This comes up a lot in the exam. We then have DynamoDB, which is Amazon's NoSQL database service. And again, I will teach you what the difference is between SQL and NoSQL, or between relational and non-relational databases. So DynamoDB is a non-relational database. It can come up in the exam, but in DynamoDB specifically comes up in the developer exam a lot. So we will go into it in a bit of detail in this course. We then have Elasticache. Elasticache is a way of caching your database services in the cloud. It's a way of relieving stress on RDS, and essentially if you're querying your databases a lot with the same queries, you may as well cache that, and then it can boost performance of the website. So we will go into that in a bit more detail in the course. Again, that is a good exam topic. And then we have Redshift, and Redshift is basically Amazon's data warehousing service. It's extremely good in terms of performance, and again, this can come up in the exam, so we'll have a section on Redshift as well. We then have a new service called DMS, or Database Migration Services. This has just been announced at reInvent and is currently in preview. As of today, this does not feature in the exam, but I'll go into a bit more detail about what it is and how to use it, and it's essentially a way of migrating your databases into AWS, and you can even convert your databases from an Oracle database to a MySQL database using the DMS service. Okay, so let's move on to analytics. Now, analytics starts with Elastic MapReduce. This is a topic that can come up in the exam. We won't have any labs on Elastic MapReduce, but I will explain to you how it works at a high level. And basically, it's a way of processing big data. We then have data pipeline. This is a way of moving data from one area or one particular service to another. We will have a quick lab on data pipeline. This comes up a lot more in the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Professional course, and you really do need to know how to use data pipeline in the pro exam. We then have Elasticsearch. Now, Elasticsearch is a managed service that makes it easy to deploy, operate, and scale Elasticsearch in the AWS cloud. Now, for those of you that don't know, Elasticsearch is a popular open source search and analytics engine that lots of people use for things like log analytics, real-time application monitoring, and clickstream analytics. As of today, Elasticsearch does not feature in the exam, so we do not cover it in this course. We have Kinesis. Now, Kinesis is a platform for streaming data on AWS. So every time if you see an exam question that talks about streaming, think Kinesis straight away. So if you think about the different things like web applications or mobile devices or wearables such as Google Glass while it was still around, or things like industrial sensors or many different software applications and services, they can generate huge amounts of streaming data, sometimes in the terabytes per hour, and you need to have a way of collecting, storing, and processing this data, and that's what you would use Amazon Kinesis for. And we will have an entire lecture based on Amazon Kinesis because it has started appearing in the exam as of today. We then have Amazon's machine learning. It's a service that makes it easy for developers of all skill levels to use machine learning. We don't actually cover it much in this course at all because it doesn't feature in the exam. However, we are in the process of developing our own course on machine learning because it's a fascinating technology. And the way Amazon actually use it is, when you go to Amazon.com and you purchase particular products, it will then use its machine learning capability to determine what other products you might be interested in, and then it pre-populates that on the page. So that's effectively what machine learning is. We then have QuickSight, and this is a very new service just been announced at reInvent. Essentially, it's a business intelligence service. So it's think of Cognos. It's like a competitor to Cognos, and it's very fast, cloud cloud-powered business intelligence service that makes it easy for all employees to build visualizations, perform ad hoc analysis, and quickly get business insights from their data. QuickSight is so new that it's currently not in the exam, so we do not cover it in detail in this course. So that's it for analytics. I am going to end this lecture here as it is a lot to take in. So if you have any questions, please let me know. And once you've had a break, feel free to move on to the next lecture. Thank you.